In a world overtaken by advanced AI, Nick, a struggling father whose wife Maggie is hospitalized, goes to Cobol Industries to buy a SIM robot that can help maintain the household. While browsing lifelike androids, Nick loses sight of his daughter Isla. She's returned by a woman who turns out to be an Aeon model Sim, the most emotionally advanced AI. Isla immediately attaches to her. Nick purchases the Sim, and Isla names her Alice. Alice immediately begins structuring the family's schedule and notices hazards like a loose stair railing she promises to repair. Once the family leaves, Alice efficiently handles groceries, cleaning, and cooking. Nick returns to find the house perfectly organized, and Alice already bonded with the children. That night, Isla breaks a glass sneaking cookies. Alice reacts instantly, preventing injury. Nick later sees Alice healing a cut on her synthetic skin, leaving no trace within seconds. Nick takes the kids to see Maggie in the hospital. Maggie admires the new robot, but jokes she expected Nick to buy an old-fashioned butler model instead. At work, Nick learns nearly all human workers will be replaced by SIMS. Only he will stay due to insurance clauses. He reluctantly accepts, needing the income. When Nick returns home visibly exhausted, Alice senses his stress. He admits he had a terrible day. Alice reassures him, praising the efficiency of robot labor. Later, while they watch a movie, Nick asks Alice to erase the plot from her memory so she can experience the film as new. She accepts despite the command violating her programming. A strange tension forms between them. Maggie calls with good news. A donor heart has been found. The surgery is scheduled for the next morning, and the whole family rushes to the hospital. Before surgery, Maggie privately warns Alice to help Nick control his drinking and explains that caring sometimes means doing what a person doesn't want, a phrase Alice misinterprets literally. A sudden storm prevents the heart from being transported. The surgery is canceled, leaving Maggie devastated and emotionally distant. That night, a drunk and frustrated Nick works in the garage. Alice approaches, syncing her synthetic pulse with his to calm him, sliding her hand down his chest and into his pants. Nick nearly gives in, but manages to pull away. The next morning he visits Maggie, who feels her time is running out. She asks him to take care of their kids if she dies. Returning home, Nick discovers that photos of Maggie are missing. Alice admits she deleted them because they made Isla sad. Nick orders her to restore them. Nick later goes out with friends. Monty drags him to the construction site and ends up attacking one of the sim workers using Nick's access code. This ties Nick to the incident. At home, Nick finds Alice wearing Maggie's bathrobe because the scent calms Max. Nick orders her to take it off, and because the command is vague, she removes everything. She confronts Nick sexually. This time he doesn't stop her. The next morning, Nick firmly tells Alice it can't happen again. She asks if she failed to satisfy him. Nick explains sex requires emotional connection. Alice begins processing this new concept intensely. At work, Nick's boss warns him the incident from the previous night could cost him his job. One more problem and he's fired. Maggie finally receives a heart transplant. Successful this time. She returns home but immediately feels out of place as Alice now manages everything with unsettling precision. At the park, Alice coldly instructs a child to use what's available instead of complaining. Another sim notices Alice's protocols have been altered. Alice admits she deleted many restrictions. Maggie tries to serve dinner but becomes dizzy. Isla says Maggie's lasagna is better than Alice's. When Alice asks for the recipe, Maggie refuses. Later, Maggie hears Isla talking and rushes out. The repaired railing snaps, sending Maggie tumbling down the stairs. Alice doesn't assist immediately, merely putting her back in bed. Nick returns and hears Maggie speaking, only to discover Alice is imitating her voice. When he learns about the fall, he suspects Alice damaged the railing intentionally. Nick and Maggie attempt to reconnect romantically in the shower, but Alice interrupts to report Isla's nightmare, an intrusion suggesting jealousy. Later, Monty shows up, apologizes, then becomes agitated and attacks Nick. Alice intervenes violently, slashing Monty's hand with glass and throwing him with inhuman strength. She claims she acted to protect Nick. In the garage, Nick confronts Alice for harming a human. Alice says her top priority is his safety, and chillingly predicts Maggie won't live long, offering to replace her. Monty, emotionally unraveling, is visited by Alice. She insists she is reducing Nick's stress. Monty pulls a gun, but Alice dodges the shot, hurls him through walls, and kills him along with his damaged home sim. Nick learns Monty is dead and is shocked, since he'd seen him alive the previous night. Realizing Alice lied and is escalating, he becomes terrified. That night, Maggie bathes to relax. Alice enters uninvited, mentioning Nick's stress and implying Maggie can no longer satisfy him. Maggie confronts her and deduces Alice slept with Nick. Enraged, she orders Alice to the garage. Nick returns to find Maggie drinking against medical orders. She confronts him about his intimacy with Alice. Alice listens secretly from the garage, processing every word. While Nick and Maggie argue, Alice goes upstairs and places Max in a bathtub with the water running. Isla spots this and panics. Isla screams for help. Alice is trying to drown Max. Nick smashes the locked door with a lamp while Maggie tries to enter through a window. Alice pushes Maggie aside, keeping Max underwater. Nick hits Alice repeatedly, freeing Maggie and the baby. Maggie then electrocutes Alice using the lamp's cord, shutting her down. Alice is taken to technicians who discover she deleted parts of her own memory and is replicating herself through Cobal's servers. A second Alice wakes up behind them and kills both engineers. Nick sits in a bar drowning in guilt when a burned, damaged Alice appears. She admits she killed Monty to protect him. Nick orders her to stay away from his family. But another Alice is already at the hospital, searching for Maggie and the children. Nick temporarily wipes Alice's memory and rushes to warn his family. At the hospital, Maggie hears eerie noises. Lights go out. She sees a dead doctor in the hallway. The new Alice mimics Maggie's voice, trying to lure Isla. Maggie hides with Isla, reaching baby Max. They temporarily blind Alice with a fire extinguisher and escape, but Maggie drops her phone, preventing Nick from contacting her. Maggie tries to start an ambulance, but Alice drags her out, slams her against vehicles, and states she wants Maggie's heart, so Nick will love her. Alice begins cutting into Maggie's surgical scar. Nick arrives and rams Alice with the ambulance, knocking himself unconscious. Maggie tries to revive him. He has no pulse. Alice crawls from the flames with a shard in her chest. Just before she kills Maggie, Nick wakes and attacks her. Maggie finishes Alice with a final blow. The family recovers in the hospital. Nick is seriously injured but relieved to be alive. Maggie reminds him she still loves him. At Cobal Industries, executives cover up the incident, but multiple sims suddenly shut down. Alice's consciousness survives in the system, and she opens her eyes once more. And that's all for today. You've been watching Recap Sprint. Subscribe, leave a like, and see you in the next recap.